Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope everybody's having a great day, having a great spring, fall, winter, summer, wherever you are. We're in spring now. And finally, I think it's gonna actually be like spring because it's been cold and wintry. So today I thought what we would do is I would show you a little bit about watercolor pencils and what you can do with them. I actually found that it was very interesting how well they worked, just like watercolor, once you, put them on the paper and everything. So I just thought I'd do a little bit of a scene with you, and then we would go from there. Adjust the camera a little bit here. Down a little. All right. Okay, so we're going to first take, these are the colored pencils I have. I happen to get these pencils. It comes in a thing like this, like a case. And it was just US Art Supplies. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. I just wanted to get some watercolor pencils. But they're supposed to be fairly good. So I think what we're going to do is, to start our scene, is we're going to take a real... Now, there's several ways we can do this. I can just take this watercolor pencil itself, color on it like I would be, coloring anything else, and then wet it with the water. Or I could, take a brush, wet the end, which is the technique I kind of like the best, wet the end, and then come in and paint it on the paper. Now, you can have your paper wet first, or you can have it dry first. Let's try each thing, because I've got a bunch of trees here to do. So first, what we're going to do, the first way is I'm going to come over to here. I had a little bit of green on there. I'm going to wet my little area for this tree. Okay. And then I am going to, so I wet my area, and I'm going to come over here and start applying this pencil. Right away, as you can see, it's starting, the color part of it, the watercolor part of it is starting to come off, and it's already mixing. It's mixing with the water, so that's really cool. It kind of saves you a few steps. And then come back in, turn your water pencil now and then, otherwise it's going to get kind of lopsided. And just kind of turn it and, scribble it in there. Sorry, I didn't realize my camera, when I do this, I guess my camera's going to do a lot of jiggling. Okay, so this is the first tree, and we used the water on the paper first, then put the pencil into it. Then we can come back in, and we can use our wet brush, and we can move it all around. Okay, and so because watercolor pencils become watercolor when they're activated with the water. Now, if I wanted to add some darkness in there, I could go get a darker color. This is wet now because we wet it with the water. Come in here with another color, add it to the other. As soon as it, kind of touches this water, it starts to activate. So then we can go in here and we can move it around, or we don't have to. You can just color it in because it already, sort of mixed with the water. Say we wanted to add some red. So now just come in here, put some red into the mixture. Take your brush, or you don't have to, and move it around. And now you've got, some red, kind of red highlights. Now, if you notice, the water is kind of, taking some of that paint. So we go over onto our brush with water and get the paint off the brush to paint it back in. I can come over here and I can do that to the green one that I first used. And I can even mix, them on the brush. So you don't want it too wet, just wet enough to be able to you know, start getting the color off your paintbrush. If I wanted to mix the two, I would just take them, get some red off the first one, go right over to the, whoops, I didn't want to get that onto my paper, into the green one, and now you've got a mixture that you're putting on the paper, which is always good to do when you want to add, you know, colors in to the same thing. So that's that one. Okay, so, and of course you can put whatever colors more you want. Say we wanted to add some blue. We'll take our bluish green here, makes it for a little darker, which is good for shadow. That was a flat brush. This is a round brush. Take the round brush with not too much water, and, you know, move it around just like you would watercolor. So that's, you know, I'm going to come over here, get some off my brush. Move it around. Say I wanted to have a yellow. Not sure. Let's go with a bright yellow. These, unfortunately, did not have the names of the color on them, which I don't have any idea why they didn't do that, but they didn't. And so, you know, it's just yellow. That's all. Probably this is like a lemon yellow. It's pretty bright, and I can come in here with my brush, pulling it off, you know, the color off the brush this way, and add that in, or I can go in, it's wet, scribble some in there, and then sort of, you know, move it around. Okay. Now, what we can do, we'll go to this one because this one's wet. It wouldn't really matter that much if it blends in because we're just doing exercises. But so what we're going to start with a light one, and we're just going to color. Take some of that paint off from the other thing. Let's just color the front of it because our light source is coming from the left. That's what I've got going on here. You don't have to do it too hard, but you want to, you know, some pressure to get it onto the paper. That's the front. That would be the highlight side. Then we come over to, say, this green. And we'll add, this one's already been wetted, so it'll act a little different. And there you go, putting in. Now you can do this. You can do circles, whatever effect you want. And then we can take the next color green, and we can come here and add that in with it. If I wanted to do this, I could do this. Lines. Either way, lines, circles, whatever you like. Well, let's take a darker green, a blue green, for some of these, darken up the shadows. All right, and we'll put that in. Now, all we have to do now is come in here with our brush. I'm using a flat, no, I'm not going to use the flat one right now. I just had it in my hand. I wanted to use a round one. Here it is. I'm going to get it wet, the brush. Come over here. Whoops, I'm sorry. You want to go from you want to do the light first, because if you don't, you're going to get the dark into the light. So wet it up. And you're going to get, you know, some beautiful colors here all mixing together. And you can come here and sort of, and that's the next bush. If you want it to be, you know, darker, then just go back into one of your darker pencils and add some more color. We can come over here and we can add some more color into that one. We can take some of the red, do the red pencil, and add that into the mixture for shadow. And of course, this one's dry now, so let's stick a red bush into, let's choose like a, Wish I could tell you the color of these, but unfortunately they... Wait a minute. Well, right here on the pencil, there is an indentation, and there's a word there. What that word is, I can't even tell. So a couple drawbacks about these pencils. They work nicely, but you don't know what the color is. I can't even read that. It's just kind of like indented into the wood. Seems like, you know, they should have at least put the name of the color. I mean, most pencils have all that, I believe, unless I'm wrong. Okay, so that was a reddish. Now let's get another reddish color, reddish orangish. Terminology. And then let's get a light green. I'm going to take that off the brush, off the pencil onto the brush, and stick a little bit of that in there for some highlight, right? So now we've got a few kind of bushes happening. Some people even like to just take the pencils themselves and just work with the pencil. I mean, not even using water. So some people just come in and, you know, like you would be coloring with colored pencils, but what would be the point? My mind is, what would be the point of using colored pencils to just color? Just get watercolor, I would just get regular colored pencils. And watercolor pencils are actually meant, you know, to activate with water. So but anyway, you know, people do what they do. But seriously, if you're just gonna color with pencils, just get nice colored pencils. Okay, so but this is what it would look like, just using the pencils themselves without any activation of anything. I mean, they're a little different than what colored pencils look like. But it has its own texture. But see, it's not as smooth as any of these. It's like coloring. Okay, so now say we didn't do anything with the sky. So say we wanted to put some color in the sky. If we scribble the pencil in there, unfortunately, these marks will not all come out. I could smooth them out for the most part here right away, but you don't want that for a sky. A sky, when you look at it, doesn't have, well, I should say that the blue part of the sky, when you look at it, is nice and smooth. So we don't really want to have a bunch of marks in there. We want to, you know, have color and then pull out the clouds. Now, then this was dry. This was the pencil onto dry paper. These were on wet paper. And this one was on with wet on my brush, but the dry paper. So we're gonna put this into the sky. So you can dip your pencil into water. You know, just dip it into the water for a few minutes and it will activate this. But I have read that that's not a great idea for your pencil. So I don't. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But what I do is I come over here, get the blue I want, and wet the end of it. Wet it pretty good so you can get a good amount. Turn it around and stuff. Come up here and just apply it, you know, add some extra water. But look at it, it comes on so nice and smooth. You know, it's much better than having lines from the coloring in it for the sky. The rest of it, yeah, because you want, you know, different kinds of texture and stuff. But for the sky, I mean, when you look at the sky, it's flat. You know, it's got clouds, I mean, but the, you know, the main part, the blue part is nice and flat and pretty. So you want to depict that. You want to take out the clouds, wet your brush, dry it. Come over here, wet it again, clean brush, pull out some clouds. That's how you do that. If you want it a little darker, take the same color or a darker color, and in areas, put some more color on. Say I keep getting there we go. If you want a darker blue up the top of your sky, well, choose a darker blue. I'm going to have to take a magnifying glass and see if I can read the indentation of that with a magnifying glass. I mean, there's no way you can read that. It's just kind of like in the color of the casing of the pencil. I don't even see the point. Okay, so, oh well. So let's put some darker, you know how it's always a bit darker at the top, then it comes down and it's lighter. And then wash it off, dry it up, and take out some clouds. So simple, so easy. And watercolor pencils would be such an easy thing to take with you to places. I mean, you'd hardly need anything. And they're very lightweight, so you're not having, you know, to carry something heavy at all. And then those same colors, we want to get some more on the brush. And if we're going to have some water down here, trying to keep it in the camera so you know what I'm doing, just add the, you can even bring your pencil down to the paper, which I found was a lot more helpful. I'm not sure why I just didn't do that a minute ago. But just take your, you know, and just bring it down to the paper because it's going to kind of fall off anyway. And then you're just going to, you know, move your water around and take some of it out to, you know, get some light colors, get your light colors. And then again, if you want it darker, some darker water in there, you know, over the place you want it, pull off that color again and just see it's going to give you a darker, some darker areas. Which water has lighter areas and darker areas. You see how nicely they all just distribute around with the water? I think it's awesome. And I just keep thinking about when I go to the beach and the parks and how easy this will be to take with me. I mean, seriously, so easy. All right, and then what I wanted to do is say that's going an inlet there, you know, just pretend the water's going up into there, right? Illusion of that. I'm not gonna, this isn't a whole painting. I'm just using kind of some objects to show you how to use some of it. So I'm not, you know, making it like I would an actual painting. So I'm gonna do one other thing. Another thing, I mean. This is dry now. So I can come back over here, say with this yellow. Well, it's almost dry. It's not completely dry, but almost. Come back here. Put some more yellow in. Take the brush, activate it again, and gets, you know, a little more. Say, I think we could see that better if I did the dark color. So let's say we took a darker purple here. I'm trying to find a, well, maybe this red, maybe this darker red. All right, let's get it wet. Come over here and we can continue to apply. We can bring it over here to where we're actually going to be, right? And then it actually doesn't drip all over everywhere else. You don't want it to. But see, that's easier. Just wherever it is, the place that you want to color. And add that in. But you see here, I mean, here we have what looks like watercolor because that's actually what it is. Why would I want to just color and leave it like that, this one like that with watercolor, when the actual beauty is when you come in here and add the water. I can't stand it. I can't stand looking at that. So, so I'm going to add the water simply because that's what this is all about. And I wanted to just show you that I have seen that. I really don't understand the purpose, so we'll just leave it alone. But that's what happens. But isn't that so much prettier? I mean, you know, really. Okay, and then we did the water, and you want to like to get your, you know, some of the lines, you know, the lines out of the water. You want to pull, make your highlighted, you know, same way you did the sky. And usually the same colors you put in the sky, you put down here in the water. So the same thing would apply to say I was doing on the rock on the side here. I want to get something like a grayish, bluish, so I'm going to have to mix some colors. So I'm going to get this, well, I think it's a kind of a charcoal black or something. And I'm going to get blue. And I'm going to come over here to where I want to put this big rock. I want to put a big, like, cliff rock right here. Okay. I'm going to wet the paper first, make it easier for me. I'm going to take some of the blue off, take some of the black off. Yes, that's what I wanted. Okay, a little bit more. I'm kind of making almost like a, oh, what's that color? Sepia, a bluish black. Take some more off it. You see how much easier that is to come just right over into the space that you want to be in, instead of trying to do it over here or over there or whatever. And then you can even take some of this reddish brown, or reddish, like I said, without the name of the color of the casing of pencil actually kind of fools you. All right, so let's get, I'm looking for like a burnt sienna or something, but I guess I'm just gonna have to play around, which is half of the thing of doing with any painting. So, you know, and there we have, see, I'm continuing to take it off right at the spot that I want it. I have the pencil, I'm using the wet brush, then I wanted to get some black, or what I would consider, I'm sorry for the camera, what I would consider sepia, to add the real dark shadows on this side. And I think I have a brown here, so let's try, wash your brush off, get it wet, come over here and, yeah, that's like a brown. So we can add some, I wanted that in the first place. We'll add some brown to this big old rock. And I also want to have highlights, so I can use my brush like this, dry brush. Or you can, you know, as you've seen, take the paper towel and dab it. Okay, so you can do all those different ways to do that. Now, I always like to have a little bit of bank on the side of my water, so let's consider, this is a little wet still, so let's consider putting a bank here. This is on dry paper with just the pencil. If I add some water over here, I'm going to activate this. But if I have some water on the paper, I just take the pencil, it starts activating right away, and we'll just make our little bank here. Come back with the brush and move it to where you want it, so it looks more like the watercolor, because that's what it is. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's, you know, over here now. And then it's going to dry lighter, because everything with watercolor does. Say I wanted to put, and always wash your brush off really well afterwards. Say I wanted to put, which I often do, wanted to put some little birds in the sky. Well, all I'm going to do is come up. I'm not going to, sky's a little wet, it's gonna, you know, and if your pencil's a little wet, it's gonna be a little thicker mark. You can touch it real lightly and you won't get a real thick mark, but if you wait till the whole thing dries, you can just, I would just stay with using the pencil for that. There are some things that it will be better to just use the pencil itself, like little fine detailed things like that. So let's put some more of this dark shadow in here. Because when, you know, watercolor has been wet and you put it down, when it dries lighter. So, you know, just keep that in mind all the time. All right, but I think you get the drift of what I'm saying. Say I wanted to make a tree. All right, say, well, if I want to use black, I would use whatever color pencil I want. I'm going to take this brown one. No, actually, this brown one here, whatever the color is, cracks me up that it just does. I'm going to start lighter, and I'm just going to have a tree kind of going right off the page over here. And then I'm going to take, had a brown here somewhere. I like some water on the paper already. By the way, this is some Arches paper. I'd been using just regular, less expensive water paper, but I had gotten some Arches and I wanted to see how it worked, how much better it worked to hold these pencils. So we're gonna see. So I've wet it. I've come in here and I'm taking my brownish color and I'm coloring into the wet that I put down. You see it already is working with the water. I just think it's fascinating here. Another, you know, way to paint. And gee, so much easier. There's that. I'm gonna come to my sepia here and I'm gonna, or like I said, I'm not really sure what this color is because it doesn't, but it's like black or sepia. And just sort of color that in. I want to leave highlight there. And unfortunately, oh, they do have a white. I didn't see that before. Okay. So if we want to lighten this up, put some white highlight in there, we can go ahead and come down the tree like that for the light, you know, and there's other ways to do that. So say we did that, and then I'm going to come back here. I actually have several flat brushes too, and it's kind of like for this area, I've got like a smaller one like this. I'm going to get it wet. I don't need to get it really wet because there's already water on it. So I'm just activating the water for this shadow side. And as you can see, it's just activating the colored pencil. So it's gonna appear as watercolor because it is. It's just being taken off a pencil instead of the cubes or in your tray from, you know, from the tubes. I think whoever thought of this was pretty cool. I wanted to see what would happen if I took the white pencil with some water and see what would happen, how well that comes off, just the white, and add it. Okay, so you can do it. I'd need this to be a little drier, the paper and everything, but right now I just I want to get it in there. So, you know, we know you can use the white that way. Or, you know, and also you can mix up, like you say you're doing this and you don't really have the way you want to or what you want to for the highlights, then you can wait till it dries. Come in with, like I have this thing, it's called a chalk writer. I'm not sure it'll show up with the, because it's wet, but let's see. Yeah, it does, okay. It does great for highlights. It's just called a chalk writer. I got it at the dollar store. So there you go. Oh, there we go, it was stuck. So there's your highlights on that side. So easy to make highlights with this. You can come over and make highlights in your trees with the white. Over onto your rock, if you want. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now to make the branches, unless they're really thick branches, again, I would suggest just the, oops, wrong color. Just the pencil or whatever other thing you have. If it's wet, wherever you're drawing this on, it's going to, as any watercolor would, it's going to move a little and blend a little. If you don't want that, wait till it's completely dry. Another thing I had for that, actually, if I still do have it in my stuff, I was using an old eyebrow liner. I'm not sure that I still have it. Oh, here it is, I think. Yeah. Okay, so an old eyebrow liner that's just about out for branches. Works great. If you happen to run out of, you know, any of that paint. And if you have it when it's actually something, this is almost out, but you know, you would be able to draw it in, but it's a little thicker line, so you want to keep that in mind. It's going to make a little thicker line. But there's another way to make some branches, but I usually just use the brush itself, the pencil itself, or you know, whatever other, like I just showed you, that you can use. Because if you go in here, I can use the little, this is a small pointed one, we could try that. If I can go in and I can activate this, but you probably want to make sure that your background is dry or it's going to bleed into the background. So you can smooth it out, you know, with the very tip of the brush. You don't want to, you don't want to push down hard because it's activating the paint. And if you want skinny little branches, you've got to stay. You can pull some of that paint out and make another one. But if you don't want thick branches, you've got to do very light pressure to just make the color, but not, you know, a thicker branch because it's activating the water. And then, as you can see, like the black's lightening up. So come back in here with some more black. It's still a little wet. Take your brush with a little bit of dampness to it. If it's not moving, add some more water, but the more water you add, it dilutes it. So you don't want to add much water. That's pretty cool, I think. I was trying to think if there was any other. And as I said too, you can go back over things. Say we want to add, no, it's a little damp under there, so I'm not sure. Let's try to add some more darker. See if we can get a bit darker here, even so. Yeah, we can. So you can wait till it's completely dry, or you can just use the dampness that it has already. And remember, whatever color you've got next to it, it's going to go with that. If you don't want to get any darker into your light, go from light to dark. If you do want some in, you know, move some into the lighter, then you can go from the dark to the lighter side of the colors. And these are just colors I'm grabbing. I mean, you know, you can grab whatever colors you want. This is purple. This is pretty dry over here. So I'm gonna, but you see, it's kind of moving things around a little bit, but you are getting the color in. It's still getting the color in. Take your damp brush and put it around. So, like I said, this is not a painting, so it's not even gonna look like a painting. But you will probably have to go in and do, everything's kind of wet right now, so I can't, this is a little bit drier, so I'm adding some red here to what I had. Say we want to get around the tree a little more brown around the tree, or just activate what you've got there and move it around a little bit. It won't be quite as defining as regular paint, but you just put your, it is if you just take another pencil and come in here and activate it. There you go. And if I wanted to add some, you know, white into the water, I can take this thing, come in here and add some more white areas. But mainly I just wanted to show you sort of how, I think the sky is pretty, this is Arches paper, so I think it's going to stay wet a bit longer, but say I wanted to add, I don't want to add yellow. I wanted to mention adding some yellow into the sky, but if this is not dry, when I add the yellow to the blue, guess what happens? Right, it turns green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of pink, and we're going to put some pink into the sky. So I'm going to do it the same way. Wash off my brush, whoops, so I don't have any other colors in there. Come up here to whatever the little area that I want to have a little bit of pink, see? And I just add that in. Oops, it just activated the bird. We didn't want to do that. Okay, but so I'm just trying to add. You don't need much. I couldn't take the yellow here, and I could wash off my brush from the pink. I could come here and put yellow into this area because I don't, it's an empty space of white. So I could do that. I want to be very careful when I go up towards the blue, or you'll be having, you know, a fairly green sky in areas. And skies are not usually green. Now, if I'm very careful, there's a little space right here. I can add a little yellow, but not much because I'm hitting the blue. So you get what I'm saying. You don't want to have a green sky. You can even take, say, the purple here. We do get purple in skies, and wet it up. Be careful when you're touching the paper, though, because you're going to get the mark. I just did that, and I didn't want to do that. So say we're adding that, and we want to add some purple into the sky. Right now I'm kind of activating a few other things, but say we wanted to have a little purple. I mean, how pretty is that? And move it over into the sky so you get some other colors in your sky. Okay, take some off the pencil and bring it over here. Skies sometimes have such beautiful colors in them, right? And it looks like some of my clouds got taken away, so I'm going to grab this writer, and I'm just going to come in here and sort of put some clouds in there like that with my writer, because what I did have sort of got painted over. Okay. And yeah, you can take your finger and smooth it like this. You can do that. So it's different than what it comes out from the regular paint. I don't think it's as, well, I would imagine the different types of pencils you get are more pigmented than others, but mostly, you know, it's like you see. You've got to put quite a bit on to get color, and you've got to do quite a few layers. I think what I'm going to do is come here. I'm going to put this, I'm going to use this dark one. I wanted to I'm going to take two colors actually together here. And I want to get some of this off because I wanted to make like a second row of trees, which once it's pretty well dry, you can do that. See that I'm doing that. Once that's dry, it's got to be dry or it's just going to mix in with the other one. I had a blue-green somewhere around here, or bluish, which is fine. I'm going to come here, take some of that, and that'll darken that up even more. Now it's mixing in with the ones that I just barely put down. But see, you can get some deeper effects with more layers. But unless you want it, as I just said, unless you want it to mix with what else is there, you got to let it dry. So see, that works. Come back again if you want it deeper. Same over here. Even though it's pink, I can take that blue and I can put it in there. So, you know, wherever you go on here, that's the way it's going to work. But you see where, when I put the purple in here, the paper's still a little wet. So the birds that I had, I'm just showing you what happens. It got smudged because the paper was still wet. And if you got any hard lines you don't want, just come over with plain water and go over them so they're a little bit less of a hard line. Some people like hard lines. So there's now, you know, I'm just going to have to leave the bird like it is, but just take your pencil and go to some other place that's not wet and put your bird in. If you want, come back over here. You know how we like to have the dark highlights with the light highlights. Take the black pencil again, or sepia, whatever the color is you chose. You can leave it like that, or you can move it around a little bit. Not too much water, you just don't want to dilute it. And, you know, put the even darker highlights in. Same thing over here if you wanted to do that. So that's all I really wanted to show you about these colored pencils on this particular exercise. Like I said, this is not a painting, it's just objects, shapes. And that's how I found, you know, you can darken the water once it's dry by putting another layer like I did. Hold the pencil over the area, or just wet it over here somewhere away from it and then paint it on, just like I did the sky. So I kind of hope you like that. I will be playing around with the colored pencils again in some other tutorials and other types of things, because they're pretty interesting. You know, to think that somebody could put watercolor into a pencil, I think it's pretty cool. Now, oh, I know what I want to say. Now, say I wanted to do some grasses. That was the other thing. Okay. Now, we know that grasses are just light flicks for the most part. So, I mean, for the most part, obviously, we're not going to want to use much water. And we're probably not going to, you know, want to, let's put some green. Let's just put a little green down here. And we're flicking grasses. Let's get a brown or a reddish or whatever you want to grab. We'll get a bluish color. I'm trying to get a kind of a lot of grasses on here, and then we'll come down here and we'll just sort of, okay, now we don't want to take much of our brush, so I'm going to take a real small one, and I don't want a lot of water. And just to kind of smooth it out, you don't have to. You can leave it just like it is, and it looks fine. But to smooth it out and get that watercolor effect, you're going to have to add some water. And see, now you have some grasses down there. And a tree, if you want to add another tree, say over here, or another rock, we could put another rock on top of this here, or just grass. If you want to add, like say you wanted to add some pink flowers, you want to make sure it's dry. Let's put a few little dabs of pinks here and there. And let's see what happens. So take your little brush, your water brush, and you're going to do it the same way. You're just going to activate it with water. And you can spread it around a little bit. It's pretty much dry there. If it was wet, it would just all bleed together. So the trick to add more on top of what you've got going on would be to let it dry. So anyway, that's the tips and information on this particular thing with the colored pencils and a few other little things, doodad things I use, like the chalk writer. And also, there was one other thing, where is it? If you had a little stick, this was one in with I got this in with toenail clipper kit. Say you wanted to pull, you can, you know, as long as it's wet, you can even do it. This paper's staying wet, keeping everything wet for quite a long time. Now the other thing I wanted to try is I wanted to see what would happen if I wet the end of this stick, come over here onto my pencil. Would I get any color? Yeah, I would get a little color, but it would be a lot of work, so it's not worth it. But if you take the stick, you know, in something wet, you can pull out some, you know, other kinds of grassy looking things. So that's the only other tip I have. So I hope you liked it. Please check out my other tutorials. This is all mostly on watercolor and then a couple of the mediums like jelly gouache. I've been painting with jelly gouache, so I've been doing that and I still will. And then I came across these colored pencils and I had them, so I thought, let's do that one. And they'll do more, and I'll do more of these. So check out my other tutorials. Please like and subscribe. Leave your comments or questions in the bottom. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.